ecosystem in terms of INNOtalks. My name is Doman Hadelin, and I'm the startup manager at ABC Accelerator. Today we are hosting our CEO of ABC Accelerator, Grega Potokar. In light of the great changes that happened in the last weeks, we all saw the importance of community. The EU is one such community that, despite its many challenges, enables different nations to live in peace and prosperity, and enables, of course, cross-border cooperation. This talk, we call them INNOtalks, or Talks About Innovation, is one such project that is happening under the acronym INNOtalk 2. INNOtalk 2 is interregional Italy-Slovenia project and is co-financed by the European Regional Development Fund. Okay, so today, as I said, today we are hosting Grega. Grega is very active in the startup ecosystem for the last 5 years or even more. So can we just start with the questions? Grega, I believe that a lot of people during these days are asking themselves, what will be the next thriving sector, or which area will thrive?
Hey, hello from my side. Yeah, so this time now is very interesting. A lot of new changes are happening and are coming our way. So basically, we already see that the new sectors that are rising are all focused towards these basic needs that we have. So in this startup lean methodology, when we talk about products that are nice to have and must have, all the industries are now turning towards the must have kind of sectors. So we see that verticals like software as a service, software optimization, all the remote tools are coming in front. And of course, we see that having access to internet and to some platforms is something that we all have and that the majority can use. So these are the future sectors that will slowly come to life towards the end of next 2 years, and I think we'll see the impact very soon. So even for this year, we are predicting quite a few changes in the way how we operate on a day-to-day basis in companies and in personal life.
Yeah, in my opinion, like for the last 2 months, I believe the delivery sector, besides the all the online tools, as you said, what do you think? Like currently, the Bolt is really penetrating the whole Europe, and Uber Eats and some other things. What do you think about the delivery sector? Are they profitable at the moment? Like, is this a good time to start a delivery?
I mean, yeah, I mean, now we see that, you know, with COVID-19, immediately we had the demand on deliveries, and of course, you know, everybody was the first customer of all the online shops. Now the biggest challenge is how to retain these customers. So we all made this our first online purchase, and now the question is, will we get back to normal and start shopping and eating on the old way, or will we adapt to new reality? Currently, the strategy for all the delivery services is gather the market. So they're going with low prices, low margins, just to ensure the market. And then after a while, it will be a marathon kind of game, survival of the fittest. Right now, in these months, of course, the supply is lower than the demand, but this can be only a quick effect. The main question here is, will the audience, will the users, will people in community adjust to this new way of living? And yeah, going into innovation sector, this is what the main challenge is. This is what we do. We try to keep the innovations constantly rolling and try to get people to use them.
Okay, this is the part which is tackling all the people, but the other part you said online tools.
Yeah,
we saw a rise in the online tools. Do you think that companies will now work more remotely? Is this the new type of working?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we see the signals from US how big corporates are focusing towards a year or year and a half remote works just for safety purposes. On the other hand, we saw in these, let's say, 2 long months that our business processes can be adjusted to online work. Productivity has risen in quite a few sectors, especially in the ones that are more in the IT industry. So quite a few companies are now deciding to have, let's say, hybrid teams that are 90% remote and 10% come into office. On the short run, this clearly is a very good decision, but we'll see how the company culture is affected on the longer run. At the end, business is about people. We need to see each other. We need to feel the energy. And for the long run, maybe we'll find a third solution, not the hybrid team, but something in between.
What about the startups and their culture? Are they more remote like the corpus? Because for corporate, right, it's something different to go remote. It's a bigger corporation, a lot of people there. What about startups? Is it easier for them to cope with this, to be remote?
I mean, startup as a definition should be a highly technological, fast-moving team that can work from anywhere in the world and is attacking the market of global expenditure. So yeah, of course, startups should, from the definition, be able to work remotely and to be able to attack any market. But now this is a challenge. In the startup sector, I think we are now in the testing period where we will see if the startups really can be quick, agile, and adapt, because the survival rate will be very high only with the ones that can make quick changes. So all the startups that were before in this nice bubble of good markets and good flow of money, now with the restriction of cash flows from corporate side, government side, and from general consumption, we'll see that the startups who really are bringing the value will survive. All the other startups will have to pivot very quickly. So remote teams and this agile workflow definitely is the future for all the startups.
And what you mentioned restrictions of the cash flow.
Yeah.
Will it be more difficult to get a funding and succeed? Can we already see that?
I mean, from the funding size, the VC industry always follows the market trends because you're looking into the future, into 3, 5, 10 years. Yes, the recession is somehow coming. Probably from the data that we have right now, it will be in form of a W. So we'll see some improvements and then it will go down again. This means that these future unicorns that we are talking about probably will have to be a bit more like camels, to hold some cash for a longer run, because the VC investments will not happen so quick as they did now. You have to calculate in at least a year or more of your runway. And also the new investments, of course, the risks are now higher, so the VC industry is demanding even more. Before that, there are some investments that are more of a, let's say, a bigger bet. So you went into the sector just because it might be, the future. Now we see that you have to bet very safe. And startups who will get funding will have to address markets very quickly, solve big pains that can be scaled on European level or on a continent level, and have the capability or this vision to go global. Otherwise, the VC investor cannot, return the investment, return the fund. So this means that, pressure on startups.
And do you think that also the funders are under pressure and how are they reacting? Like, are they bothering you? Like, how are you helping the funders at the moment? What would your advice to the funders be?
I mean, yeah, of course, all the businesses are now under pressure, especially the startups who probably in the majority are just entering the market segments. They have a customer base, but it's not solid. They still, put a lot of effort into every customer. It's hard. So the advice here is to go two steps back and check your canvas and check again what's the value that you're providing. Does this value still hold? Are your customers, your imaginary customers, really reacting to the value that you're bringing? Maybe in new times, in new environment, the value has to change a little bit. So it's again this process of finding the product market fit. On the other hand, if you just repeat everything that you have done in the past years, the results will be the same under the same circumstances, but the circumstances changed. So this means another pivot, another iteration of your business model, your ideas, your products to slowly adjust to the new norm.
What would you recommend to the startups which are in the tourist sector? Because I've been talking with them quite a lot in the last couple of months, and they seems to be lost.
I mean, yeah, it's clearly a big hit. Tourism slowly will recover, of course. We'll see when, but when this happens, you have to be prepared. And having a startup that aggregates the best local pizza community will not be good enough. Now, in tourism sector, you need to provide more value, and tourists will seek more value for their money. It will be much harder to squeeze an additional euro or dollar out of the user. So it's back to the whiteboard, discovering what value can you bring. But on the other hand, yeah, a lot of startups will fail, will close down. A lot of new startups will come out of this. It's a cycle. It's very normal. Maybe under these circumstances, it's a bit of a shock for us. But I mean, look at it, for the last 8-10 years, we had a constant growth of economy. It cannot go all the time just up.
Can you maybe tell us a good example of a startup that adapted fast?
In our portfolio, we have a very good two startups that are in this, let's say, hospitality and tourism sector. The first one is in hotels. Of course, all the hotels are now closed. Their biggest clients are from UK and Mexico, where average hotel is 85% full throughout the whole year. And in the first 2 weeks of COVID-19, it dropped to 10%. They quickly made the adjustments towards the hygiene kind of part. So for all the disinfections of handles, of doors, of spaces, so they pivoted the same software towards this, and now they're selling to everybody who is managing bigger or small properties. So this was a big pivot by FlexKeeping. And on the other hand, we have Beeping, who are cleaning your homes, your houses, either after Airbnb visit, either your personal ones. They quickly made the adjustments towards a new standard. Of course, for the future, it will be very normal to have an Excel sheet of how often do you disinfect your air, your tables, handles from doors and everything. So they just pivoted towards this service and are actually doing better than before. So these are two very, let's say, successful adaptations. But on the other hand, not everybody was successful in these few periods, but we still have time. I mean, it's only 2-3 months. This for a startup is enough time to do a few pivots and tests.
Okay, I also came across one article where it was written that many great ideas came to reality during the crisis. like Airbnb and Uber and WhatsApp. What do you think? Like, is the COVID-19 startups at the moment, like the startups which are tackling the COVID-19, is this the go-to market?
I mean, definitely in every crisis, let's put it like this: please don't waste a good crisis. So yeah, this is the best disruption time for all the startups and startup-minded people. Yeah, when the forces are changing, this is the time and the place to go in and to make room for yourself. A lot of good startups are coming out of this. Of course, we'll see the survival rate, but yes, from one side, we have the COVID-19 startups that are addressing this current situation, current pain. From the other side, we have the startups that are addressing the new norm, new reality. It's very naive to think that we'll go back to how it was. And the sooner you accept this, that this is a new reality, the sooner you can go forward. So a lot of new startups on the rise, very exciting times for accelerators, for VCs. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll have very good companies that will provide or give a lot of jobs, a lot of workplace environment stuff. So this is good. And on the other hand, of course, when startups are thriving, the corporates and the bigger companies are usually going down. So this means that we'll also see some layover on the bigger company side. So we can expect the job market to be a bit rough in the next 6 to 8 months.
Okay. How did you change as an accelerator? What are you looking for at the moment?
I mean, of course, practice what you preach. We were the first ones that had to adapt. We follow the rule of once you're on the airplane, first put the oxygen mask towards yourself and then help the others. So we made very quick decisions. The team is working partially remotely. We shifted the whole program to online. So now we are hyper-personal, fully online accelerator. Everything is recorded. All the sessions are online. We work in all the time zones. And the program, of course, because now we don't have this personal connection, is very individualized. So this means for every startup, we create an individual plan of what we want to achieve, traction, revenue, next investments, all the goals, and then we go one by one. What we have changed is that we made our sectors and the scale of scope a bit wider. So now we're also accepting kind of startups that are in these special challenges. This means that everything that's now related towards the new norm also can be a part of it. Mitya, do you have a question?
No, thank you. I'm just observing the energy and all the sections going on. So it's very positive. I'm enjoying all the discussions. Great work and great job.
Okay.
If anybody has a question, you can write it down in the chat or unmute yourself and ask Grega. Don't be scared. We will answer anything. So where did we stay? What should I do if I have a business idea at the moment? Like, what would be the first thing that I should do?
Now it's even more important than before to test and retest all your ideas. So going to market, making a quick Typeform survey, creating a Facebook page, sharing between your friends, creating an email list. These are essentials. This should be done by lunch. And everybody now can make quick prototypes. It can be pen and paper. It can be something that you write in, you draw in Paint or in Photoshop. So you do ABC testing and you start seeing what the reaction from the market is. Once your idea grows a little bit more, there are tons of programs and free tools online where you can get this, basic knowledge. Everything goes towards lean kind of structures, basic methodologies. Business model canvas, of course, is one of the essential tools. So this is, let's say, bare essentials. Then you will have to decide in which directions do you want to go. Just seeking for investment and money now will not be a very good idea. So you have to know how will you create revenue, for how long you can go without revenue, and what will be your investment plan. If you're searching for angel investment or a VC, you have to set up your company in completely different way, opposite to if you're just starting a company that will have 3 to 5 people and generate salaries, and that's it. But yeah, going to market, testing, this is now the most important part.
Probably some of the people are not so familiar with the testing phrase. Can you explain more about testing? Like, for example, I want to do a Airbnb for something, Airbnb for storage. How can I test it? Like,
yeah, I mean, usually people go directly into the development of website, app, and pay a lot of money. It's very easy. You create a landing page with 2 buttons, Android and iOS. You have one-liner saying what you do, and then you count the clicks on either Android or iOS icon. When you click on it, nothing happens, just a screen saying thank you, coming soon, but you get a market feedback of your first enthusiasts, your first users. If the majority of first users is in Android, you develop this app. You don't go into developing, the iOS version. You can take this methodology, also step back and say, okay, we have Airbnb for something. We have 3-4 different audiences, and you create 4 different landing pages. Go to Facebook, create some campaigns, or create a community, talk to the community, ask questions, get the feedback, call people who are Airbnb owners, go there, visit them. You have to be, let's say, street smart at the beginning. So emails don't work. You pick up the phone, you ask questions, you start with why, and you ask all the questions that show you the way towards the, let's say, first milestone.
Yes, because usually people have an idea and they think too much through it, and then they get stuck. I know that money is not everything, and usually you just need support from environment, and that's probably what we also are good at in ABC. So the next question would be like, why do you think majority of the startups, even before crisis, fail?
I mean, even before crisis was shown that you need to have a product market fit. If you're just, if you have a few users and you're addressing a very small niche market, now today, probably this market is gone. If you're doing something that is in the category of nice to have, so, you have a lot of competitors and you're competing with features, not in functionalities, then yeah, your failure is coming towards you, and it's just a matter of time. So the market is flooded with solutions. You need to really ask yourself what's the core value that you're providing, and what are the main characteristics that differentiate yourself from other competitors. If you're competing in color, a little bit better user experience, nicer app or web page, this will be not enough. I mean, maybe you can survive for a few months, maybe you get funding and leave off the funding, but sooner or later, these kind of startups will close. The failure rate in startups is usually very high, so that's normal. Now, the times that are coming, it will be even harder for startups to survive, but at the end, this is good, because founders will focus only on the important things. So do I need branded T-shirts, pens, and notebooks? No, you don't need them. You need to focus on your clients, on your market first, and invest all the effort and energy into this. So being lean, business oriented is a new goal.
I believe that every startup that comes to ABC Accelerator, you believe that it will succeed. Can you describe one case when the startups came, they had really good idea, but then they fail, and why they fail?
Yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of startups fail. Usually it comes down to founders and the founding team. If you come towards the business with a fixed idea that this will be exactly like you imagined, and you're not willing to pivot, you're not coachable, you don't listen to the market, usually the fail happens. If you are data driven, so if you make decisions based on data, then usually the startups can succeed. Of course, there is no guarantee. At the end, the market is the smartest, and the market tells you where you are. But you have to follow, first data steps in order to succeed. Example of companies that fail. I mean, we have quite a few of them. So a lot of startups fail at some point. The question is if they, pick up themselves and go forward. As an investor, you're always looking for founders who are not afraid of obstacles and know how to, pivot around them and go forward. We had a very good startup from the telco industry, security sector, big clients, corporates, and then suddenly something changed. It changed that companies now just buy new phones and new laptops for employees. Bring your own device policy is not so popular anymore, and they slowly went out of business because they didn't want to pivot. This is then the inevitable end. But if they pivoted, maybe something else will happen out of it. But these kind of cases are all about adjusting to new markets.
But why didn't they want to pivot? Did you recommend them? The market signs were obvious, but
I mean,
they still.
Yeah, of course. The role of the accelerator is to help remove the obstacles towards founders and help them grow. But at the end, it's founders' responsibility to make the decision and go forward. Some founders just are perfectionists. So they have an image in their head how they should look like, how their company should look like, and they don't want to pivot. And this being super perfect all the time, of course this is a great trait for an entrepreneur, can usually be also a negative side. So this means they, instead of doing fast prototypes, MVP, minimal viable product, something to test, they go and over engineer everything, and they spend months and a lot of money into developing something. It can be a simple offer or a simple email, and then they slowly go towards the end of the market that it's not for them. Most importantly is to listen to the feedback from the environment where you're operating with your business, because you're only a reflection of what the market need is, or what your users, your future customers would like to do with your solution. And if you don't follow this, then you're done.
On the opposite side, we have some startups which already almost failed, but then they succeed. Can you tell us an example of that startup?
I mean, yeah, investing into startups is all about the future. So you invest now because in 3, 5, 10 years, this will be a global company. And yes, most of the companies are on the market too soon. Let's say we had a company from Albania 3 years ago that made all the health records digital. When you went to the doctor, you had everything digitalized. At that point of time, all the meetings that we had were not successful. So you just take a physical file, you send it via post, and in 2 days it's there. We don't need this. Now today we see that this is something that we all need. In the meantime, they almost failed. Now they're in Canada, supplying the big hospitals, and this is a, let's say, good plot twist.
Okay, thank you. Before the crisis, like you could go to someone, to the corporate, come there, maybe even unannounced, get a meeting, or even try a few times. Do you think it's harder for startups to launch a meeting with a corporate? Like, can we help them there? Because it's online now?
I mean, for us, opening doors and getting the meeting is very easy, because we have a good track record, and we know how to approach this kind of meetings or future customers. But for the startup, yeah, I think the challenge will be how to provide value. On the corporate side, all the budgets for HR education, marketing, promotion are now close to zero. So all the companies are focusing on core essentials, and it's very hard to get a piece of the pie. For startups, it will be challenge now where to get the money from bigger companies, because as we saw in the first few weeks of officially epidemic in Slovenia, everybody was canceling printing services, office space, everything that you had on lease, you returned, all the subscriptions you canceled, and this will continue throughout the year, because the cash flows are going slow and are slowly stopping. So this means for a startup to find a revenue stream, it's a challenge now.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have a question? You can ask anything now if you want.
We're talking a lot, yeah, and I'm opening the chat. So either write something in the chat or unmute yourself, and we can answer questions, go to very specific cases, or talk like generally. It's up to you. This webinar is especially meant for you guys.
Okay.
Going once, going twice.
Apparently nobody doesn't have enough courage to do it.
We have 32 people. Let's see if we know somebody. We'll call out somebody random.
Otherwise, we can just continue and ask them in the next 15 minutes. Okay, so Grega, you said that it will be quite harder to get funding and to even start to get a meeting or anything. What do you think? Like, if I have a product or something which I cannot right now sell, do you think that I should pivot, or I should still pursue my idea?
I mean, the question here is, what did you do in order to sell it? If you just created a web page and put a price on it, no, you didn't validate the market. You should try harder. If you tried all the options, if you went around, talked to customers, pivoted a few times about the target groups, yes, then maybe there is no product market fit. So in this process of creating the end product, you constantly have to talk to your future users, and these users are strange. At the beginning, you have these enthusiasts that pick you just because they're enthusiastic about something, and you have to discover this. And through time, once you get more customers, more users, these enthusiasts don't stay with you. They go away towards the next big thing, and the new users come in, more a traditional mindset kind of users. And your customer base is constantly changing to when you're growing. So this means you constantly have to get back to them and listen. But finding the first customer is a matter of trial and error, and it's a matter of personal kind of approach. You need to do interviews. You need to talk with them. Doesn't matter if you sell something for $1 a month or for €1,000. You need to talk with your future user and go with them and see how they use your product, why they use it, and find what kind of value really are you creating, and then piling up on this value. The more value you create, the better the future conversion of customers.
That's because also before you mentioned it's not about nice to have product, but it is about must have product. So what I believe is also the startups which have the products which are really nice to have and you don't use them daily or even weekly, they're gonna definitely fail. So
you see that money is a very funny thing. From one hand, we are very sensitive when we have buying decisions. From the other perspective, people can spend a lot of money on things that are not really essential. And now when the money is getting scarce and the salaries are getting lower and people are getting let down and fired, it's of course now the question of priorities. We can see the example of Netflix. Now when you're watching Netflix and you go out in the middle of the film, they immediately ask you a question: did you like the content or not? They give you a short questionnaire because they are scared, because if you cancel the subscription for €6-7 a month, in the whole year it's 70-80 euros. It's a lot of money for that you can spend on food, on rent, on something. So yeah, it's very important now to know what you're doing.
As you said, like companies are firing people, but I also believe the whole ecosystem, especially in the startups, it will be much easier to get a job in the startup world anywhere in the world, because everything will be remote, and probably the startups from the richer countries will start employing all around the world because of the cheaper labor force, and also some corporates might do that. Do you agree with me?
I mean, now you have to think about the future situation, not the current one. So of course COVID-19 and everything, it's here, but it will pass. We're looking in the future of clean technologies and this kind of tech, where the new crises are approaching. So when you're innovating today, you have to think about the future industries that are coming. And the same, the corporates, everybody who is employing people is thinking somehow in the same direction. You're not addressing the current need, you're addressing the pains that you will have and the business that you can pursue in the future. So having teams that are from all around the world, who have different mindsets, different experience, is actually a plus side. So yeah, it will be very easy to get a job on another continent and work remotely on a completely different team, because with your presence there, you're providing a new experience from a different culture, different mindset, and you can be somebody who opens a new market. Everything that companies should be doing now is just following the money. So you're constantly searching for new revenue streams, for new business models, and remote teams can give you this. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, people still need human interaction. Maybe these remote teams can work, on a shorter period of time, and then we'll see, how it results.
Great, Grega. I believe that we tell them everything. If anybody has a question, you can ask right now. I believe that you might be interested in startups since you're here, or at least in innovation. Does anybody has an idea about anything? Innovative idea?
We'll do it a bit of commercially. We're looking for companies in clean tech environment. We have programs for this. We're looking for companies from idea stage to scale up stage. So we can help either find the next investment, get traction, revenue in almost all the sectors. So if you have any sort of idea, startup or scale up that's already either on the market or trying to get on the market, contact us through webpage, through one of the emails, and we'll find the right help and program for you. We do quite a lot of things for free, so it's somehow our way of giving back to the startup community. And on the other hand, we're looking forward for all the new startups that will come out of this period. I think the future will be very exciting.
Yeah, guys, I hope that you liked it. And as Grega said, if you have an idea and you're willing to realize it, start testing it, I believe that ABC is the place to go. Currently, like, we are really looking for innovative idea, because we know that there are some, but you just have to tell us to bring them to life with you.
Also in this corporation with different kind of institutions around Europe, we have a lot of different knowledges, program exchanges. Like here, we are cooperating also with Italy. It's a very good thing to join one of programs like this, because you get international experience and stuff like that. So yeah, we are running out of time. Thank you everybody for listening. Doman, I think, gave you in the chat his email if you have any questions. It was a pleasure, Doman. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Grega. Thank you for having us. It was great.
Okay.
So thank you and goodbye.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Enjoy the rest of the event.